Got a sec, Snake?
What's up?
It's about Paz. You know she doesn't have any family. She got a scholarship thanks to Zadornov and was living at the dorms, but he was KGB. All signs are her scholarship came from the KGB too. Even if they let him go, she's not going to be seeing any more money.
It wouldn't have been much anyway.
So, I was wondering, what about letting her stay here for a while?
What does she think?
She says she wants to help out. It would only be temporary. She's still in shock. Right now, no one understands her better than we do.
Okay. But Kaz, don't take your eyes off her.
What do you mean?
It won't be easy getting used to this kind of life.
I know, Snake. I'm not trying to turn her into one of us. You should talk to her yourself later.
Okay.
And, Dr. Strangelove wants to come too.
Strangelove?
Well, she's out of a job now, and she'd have a problem returning to England. You can talk to her about it. Anyway, you don't need me to tell you how good she'd be for R&D.
Professor Galvez was a KGB spy? I thought he helped me out of genuine concern for Costa Rica's future.
You didn't know.
How could I? Believe me, Snake. He introduced himself as a peace researcher at the university. He had an office and credentials and everything.
They're masters at creating cover personas. They think of everything. ID papers, jobs, sometimes even families. Don't feel bad you didn't see through it.
But you did?
From the first time we met.
I wish you had told me.
Sorry. I didn't know if it'd be right. You might have gotten mixed up in things you shouldn't.
That is impressive, though. Sizing him up at a single glance.
He reeked.
Reeked?
He had this unmistakable air about him. The air of someone who's been given a mission and will see it through no matter what. Like me. I could just smell it.
That is amazing, Snake.
I'm just kidding. It was his prosthetic hand. Why would a professor from a peace university need a tool for assassination?
I have a favor to ask you, Snake.
Name it.
I want you to give me a job here. I want to help out.
You sure? You just went through a hell of a time. You should probably take it easy until you're settled.
Thank you. But there must be something I can do. You would not want me near a gun. But I am a decent cook.
Now there's a skill we can use.
Put me on the mess hall team. I think I can handle it. Once I get used to it, I will even add in some Costa Rican recipes.
Sounds like a plan.
Snake, we've got a problem. Zadornov's not in his cell.
What?
He must have used his prosthetic as a blowtorch to cut through the bars. But we've managed to narrow down his location using a transmitter we planted on him. I'm adding a new mission. Find the KGB agent Zadornov. Find Zadornov and bring him back here with Fulton recovery.
How did he escape back to the mainland? What did he do? Swim? Okay, well, we might as well go grab a bunch of people while we're at it.
Can't be imagining things.
Even though I think we've got probably enough at this point. Which way are we heading? No real destination, just kind of find him, I guess.
Freeze.
Come on, go to sleep. Well, we'll go this way. This guy was guarding this way, so... Tracking up. We can all have a little nap.
I'm seeing things. seeing things.
Okay, now we just wait.
I'm seeing things.
Freeze.
Fulton recovery helicopter is complete.
Make sure we save at least one.
Fulton recovery subject confirmed onboard helicopter.
Unless we can obviously find some supplies. We check up in there. POW.
Fulton recovery helicopter is complete.
Okay, head to the next area, I guess. Got 5 left. Sneak past these guys? Do I really need to be
Somebody there.
looking around at them? Does make my life easier though to be able to just trank them and walk past them. Grab him. Well, that worked out. I
Can't be imagining.
tranked him first and then knocked him out.
Freeze.
Could have bought night vision, it's a bit bloody dark. Where are we? Yeah, I'm guessing we want to go this way, right? So I think the other way just leads back to where we started.
Freeze.
They're my final 3, I think. For any prisoners or for him. Guess we can find some restocks.
Freeze.
He'll get to sleep eventually.
Guess not.
Guess not. Assuming I'm not just going to run into him, he's just going to be lying around somewhere.
Guess.
Yes.
What's that? Is someone there?
POW. Quick, into the love box. Which is more suspicious than just not being there. Gotcha. Can't go that way. Alright.
Fulton recovery subject confirmed onboard helicopter.
What are
Search
my
every
options?
inch of that area.
Go any further in. He's literally right there, huh? Seems suspicious to me.
Freeze.
Down.
Back you go then.
Head for the recovery zone. We'll pick you up there. Mission complete. The folks back at Mother Base will be thrilled. So, you found me.
It wasn't hard. What are you up to anyway?
Just going for a stroll.
Kaz, I've got Zadornov, returning home.
Acknowledge, Snake.
AI stands for artificial intelligence. It refers to a man-made machine possessing an intellect on par with that of a human being.
Is that even possible?
Possible. You've seen it with your own eyes. What the AI weapons are capable of. How Peace Walker carried out the boss's will in the end. No mere machine could ever choose to sacrifice itself like that.
I just can't see how a bunch of circuits and switches could have a will of its own.
It's called the ghost in the machine, Snake. And it exists.
What did you mean by the ghost in the machine?
Oh, that. It's a term coined by the philosopher Gilbert Ryle. You've heard of Descartes, yes?
I think, therefore I am.
That is the one. Descartes espoused the dualistic theory of mind and body. He believed that our thinking minds exist in a separate dimension from our bodies, which are governed by the laws of physics. But if that were true, then couldn't you say that a mechanical body, inhabited by a ghost mind, is a human being? Ryle criticized Descartes on those grounds, saying such a thing surely wouldn't be human.
Why'd you bring it up?
I wasn't thinking of Ryle in particular when I said it. I simply thought that if a person is composed of a machine and a ghost, perhaps the opposite is true as well. Perhaps, by placing a ghost inside a machine, we could, in effect, give birth to a new person.
And that was your idea for the boss AI?
The moment you ripped the memory board out, the mammal pod ceased to function. It should have been dead. And yet, Peace Walker righted itself, singing a song of peace. I couldn't help but feel that her soul had come to inhabit Peace Walker.
Let's say, hypothetically, there really was an intelligent machine. How would you prove it? What's the difference between a high-level computer and an AI?
It depends on what you choose to define as intelligence. For example, Snake, listen to my voice talking to you now. Suppose it were an AI.
Say what?
What if the living, breathing me sitting here drinking tea and talking to you were actually an AI, programmed to simulate my thoughts and my voice?
You're nuts.
No, I'm not. You couldn't prove I was a real human being, could you?
It'd be... No.
So if an AI is so advanced you can't tell it from the real thing, wouldn't you call that intelligence?
I'm not quite convinced.
But that's only one way to look at it. It's roughly how Dr. Turing explained artificial intelligence. The test I described is called the Turing test, in his honor.
Yeah, well, sounds like a bad joke to me. That singing monster of yours put me through hell. If I never meet one again, it'll be too soon.
Shame. And I was about to let an AI take my place in our conversation.
Don't even think about it.
Dr. Alan Turing is known as the father of computer science. It was he who formulated the basic theory of AI. During the war, he worked for GC and CS.
The government's cryptology school. The one that broke Enigma.
The very same. Without him, they might never have been able to decipher the Germans' code. But then, they arrested him.
Why? Weren't his some of the greatest contributions to winning the war?
Homosexuality was a crime in Britain back then, and he was gay. I know exactly how crushed he was. I feel it's my duty to further his AI research.
Like the Imitation Game, huh?
Huh. You know it then. The clue that inspired the Turing test came from a trifling little party game. You exchange written notes with another person behind a screen and try to guess their gender, whether they're a woman or a man, pretending to be a woman. It's surprisingly difficult to tell the difference. Man or woman, human or machine. What do the differences even mean? Dr. Turing was fascinated by the differences between men and women. Perhaps that's what led him to formulate his test.
What if you hadn't used the boss as the model for the AI?
What do you mean?
If the end goal is MAD, it seems like there are more suitable models out there. A military chief of staff, or a nuclear technician, even the president.
Patriotism, leadership, good judgment. Each of those qualities is essential when deciding whether to launch a nuke. And she had them all.
Wouldn't the president, too?
It's not enough. She had the will for it.
Will?
Let me explain, Snake. Peace Walker is a standalone weapon. It has to decide on its own whether or not to launch a nuke. It can't turn to anyone else for advice. It can't do its job if it's not prepared to take sole responsibility for the fate of the world. I know of no other human being who could bear that burden.
That's it?
There were technical considerations, of course. To begin with, the female brain is a more appropriate model for an AI.
Oh, wait, the female brain? What do you mean by that, modeling your AI after the female brain?
Snake, what is the human mind capable of that a computer is not?
Being lazy?
Interesting response. And not incorrect. But the answer I was looking for was empathy.
Empathy?
The ability to feel for others, to be more precise. Love for a child. Pity for the weak. Grief for the dead. All of these are particularly well developed in the female brain.
That's stretching it a little.
On the contrary, it's perfectly reasonable. The male brain, on the other hand, may be well suited for systematic thinking, but it's less able to empathize. In that sense, it's closer to a computer. So if your objective is to make the AI think more like a human...
You need to teach it how to empathize like a woman.
The novel, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, deals with this very problem. In the book, an empathy test is used to distinguish between machines and human beings. As machines become more and more advanced, our society will gradually become more and more systematic. Our cities will teem with robot-like people, unable to feel for others. We cannot allow that to happen. computers must learn to empathize. The same goes for humans, only more so.
Well, what about yourself? You make these claims, and yet I've never seen you empathize with a real person.
It's true. Until now, I was a prisoner of death. It was my intention to die upon the completion of Mammal's development. She was my one reason to live.
But you changed your mind.
I did. Because she taught me the dignity of living. My eyes are open now. I want to go on living and seeing real people.
Huh. I see. Is it really necessary to make machines think like humans? I think empathy would get in the way of making the decision to retaliate.
I admit, human thought may not be fully compatible with level-headed decision-making. Then again, is there such a thing as non-human thought? The moment computers became so advanced that they could calculate faster than human beings, a new dream was born.
Dream?
If we can create a machine that can do advanced mathematics, why can't we create one that can think like a human? The 19th century author, Auguste Villiers-L'Isle-Adam, wrote a book called Tomorrow's Eve, in which the protagonist fashions an artificial woman to serve as his ideal lover. I believe the idea of creating an intelligent being with our own hands is one of mankind's oldest dreams.
So AI is a product of people's dreams, then?
Not only AI, civilization itself is the process by which mankind gives form to its dreams. But not all dreams are pleasant. Some have expressed fears about non-human intelligence.
Yeah, they want the benefits with none of the risks.
Some fear that intelligent robots might rise up and rebel against their human masters, as portrayed by the Czech writer Karel Čapek in his Rossum's Universal Robots, or in the 1970 film Colossus, the Forbin Project, where intelligent supercomputers in the US and the Soviet Union join forces and plot to subjugate humanity. Isaac Asimov offered a specific solution to these fears with his 3 laws of robotics, which demonstrated that while robot intelligence is different from that of humans, the two can coexist. In order to endow computers with intelligence, we must first have a thorough understanding of what intelligence is, and that is where the need for a practical and feasible expert system arises.
So what's an expert system?
The AI housed within Peace Walker began development as such a system. An expert system is a type of proxy program by which a computer makes decisions as an expert would. The program, Mycin, for example, is a system that decides which kind of antibiotics to prescribe. The system asks the patient a series of questions to narrow down the range of appropriate drugs.
So you program Peace Walker to prescribe live nuclear warheads instead of penicillin.
What I realized, however, was that a simple expert system wasn't up to the task.
You need more than expertise to launch a nuke.
Indeed, expertise is a necessary prerequisite, but insufficient on its own. Deciding to launch a retaliatory strike requires consideration of a wider range of factors. In such a scenario, the entire global situation becomes the criterion for making a decision.
Makes sense. You screw up the prescription and the whole world goes into anaphylactic shock.
A weak AI that only has a limited range of knowledge upon which to base its decisions won't cut it. Therefore, I had the AI study the boss's thought patterns, thus creating a true expert system. A strong AI.
You couldn't leave the world in the hands of something with anything less than absolute worldview.
I could have built a simple expert system in no time at all. Say, how would you like a system that decides which guns you should equip according to the mission's parameters?
I'll pass. I'm not going to leave my life up to somebody else's judgment. Especially not a machine.
With current technology, AI are inevitably enormous in size. But as circuit integration continues to advance, they will become even smaller. As small as human brains, and perhaps smaller than that. And in the meantime, robotics will continue to advance as well, to the point where we can create androids, robots that resemble humans. And then...
And then what?
Well, I don't need to spell it out for you, do I?
Don't tell me you're thinking of making an android imitation of the boss.
Surely the thought has crossed your mind as well, of one day being reunited with her?
Enough! I don't want any part of it.
I see. I didn't mean to offend you. In reality, AI is more likely to evolve in the opposite direction anyway.
The opposite direction? What does that mean?
More and more, AI are becoming systems that specialize in mass information processing, without human intelligence, thought, or emotion. A machine that has no individualism or sense of self, but rather behaves as a collective, exhibiting the qualities of a society.
Like a beehive?
Yes, it aggregates data collected by individuals and determines how the collective will act, just as honeybees travel between the hive and flowers. The key to achieving that will be networking AI together.
I don't know how to say this, but that kind of gives me the creeps.
But if your goal is to control society, it's the better model to use. It lets you filter data, disseminate only what you want disseminated. Of course, I myself have no interest in an AI without a shred of life to it.
Earlier, you called the mammal pod a butterfly. Not a pupa or a cocoon, but an imago.
Yes, the AI that came before the mammal pod were works in progress.
Works in progress.
They were enough to keep the frame running, but not enough to make decisions about nuclear retaliation. They weren't quite complete. They were pupae. Only when I added the boss's data did the AI take on its true form, becoming a butterfly and taking flight.
And that's why the nose art on Peace Walker was a butterfly.
I gave the mammal AI the code name BS Imago. BS is short for boss.
Bad news, Snake. Zadornov's on the loose.
What? Again?
It's funny. We took away his prosthetic and did a full body check. We even increased the guard.
You think he had help?
Impossible. Anyway, I'm adding a new mission. Locate and recover Zadornov. Find Zadornov and bring him back here with Fulton recovery.
This guy's a slippery bastard, isn't he? How does he keep escaping?
I'm seeing things.
The hell even are we? Well, the first areas, right?
Freeze. What was that?
How about you go to sleep? What kind of area are we heading? Oh, he's in one of these two areas, I guess.
Fulton recovery helicopter is complete. Fulton recovery subject confirmed onboard helicopter.
Stanley walked into you. Paid off.
Fulton recovery helicopter is complete. Try using Fulton recovery on him. Head for the recovery zone. We'll pick you up there.
Yeah, where is that?
I knew you could do it. Piece of cake, right?
I caught Zadornov.
Impossible. I thought I'd made it. Acknowledged and appreciated.
Huey called that gigantic unmanned chopper a chrysalis. Is that another one of your AI code names?
Yes, you're referring to the TJ Chrysalis 6000. There's also the GW Pupa 5000, the TR Cocoon 7000.
I get it. A hovercraft type and a treaded type. And those letters on the front. TJ, GW, or whatever. Those are initials?
Correct. The initials of the American presidents whose faces are carved into Mount Rushmore.
Then you're missing one.
I assigned that one to the reptile pod. AL Aurelia 8000.
Aurelia. Another word for chrysalis. A pupa just before it emerges.
All of the initials, except for BS, were of Coldman's choosing. I chose mine from the storied ranks of British royalty. MS, AV, EW.
What do those stand for?
You can't guess. Why, Mary Stuart, Alexandrina Victoria, and Elizabeth Windsor.
All queens. Of course.
Are you familiar with the film 2001: A Space Odyssey?
I've heard of it, but...
Of course not. I didn't expect you to be cultured enough to appreciate such things.
Yeah, thanks. Anyway...
2001 features an AI called HAL, a highly advanced system that controls an exploration spacecraft. It can converse with people, and even play chess.
Huh. Now where have I heard that before?
The way HAL was portrayed was truly superb.
How so?
HAL is given secret orders that not even the ship's captain knows about. Naturally, he's not allowed to divulge them to the crew. The stress of it causes HAL to crack.
Crack?
Go crazy. Though there are those who interpret it differently. One by one, HAL kills off the crew until the captain finally shuts it down. The film offers amazing insights into AI, their growth, their utility, their faults, and their fear of death.
Well, you must have found it useful in your research then.
Must you always be so utilitarian? It doesn't matter whether or not it's useful. What matters is that it inspired me.
Then it was useful.
Never mind. The portrayal of Hal wasn't the only wonderful thing about the film. It was full of hints about the future of human evolution. Truly, a film for the ages.
Strangelove, when did you and the boss first meet?
Did she ever tell you about what she saw in space?
Yeah.
I saw the same thing along with her. The Soviets beat America into space with Sputnik, and so America rushed to be first in manned spaceflight. NASA used her as their top secret guinea pig, launching her deep into the cold blackness of space. I took part in the project as a scientist.
You were there with her?
Yes. For a brief time. We were one and the same, she and I. We sought each other out, completed each other. Did you know that inside every woman there's a universe? And that we are able to sense this in each other? We connected because of our empathetic female brains. As time went on, I began to have doubts about offering such a noble soul as sacrifice. Why did she have to... The flight test was a narrow success, and she miraculously made it back alive. But her mind and body were horribly mangled, and there was nothing I could do for her. We were no longer one and the same. She went away, and I, having nothing else to live for, immersed myself in AI research, hoping that no one would ever have to make her sacrifice again.
I never knew.
It's not really worth knowing. We were ships passing in the night, that's all. Perhaps someday I'll tell you the long version, if you're interested.
That was quite a warm welcome you gave me at the base in Costa Rica.
Sorry about that. But I simply had to know.
The boss's final act.
Yes, By inputting her thoughts and actions into the AI, I was imbuing it with her mind. The only thing I couldn't understand was her final act.
Operation Snake Eater.
Official history says she betrayed her homeland and defected to the enemy and was killed by you. But it didn't make sense. The boss would be the last person on Earth to betray her country. It was logically inconsistent.
It was, wasn't it?
That internal inconsistency prevented the AI from activating properly. Just as Hal malfunctioned in the film, I understood the reasoning, but I had to have proof. Proof of her final act, her true intentions, one way or another.
So you tried to squeeze it out of me, huh?
As a matter of fact, I did. Your silence was the very answer I was looking for.
That white horse the boss rode.
The Andalusian, yes.
How'd it get to Costa Rica?
I went looking for it. It was her final witness. Even if it couldn't speak, I found it and brought it here.
Where? I thought for sure it'd be blown to ashes by those MiGs.
I searched the ends of the earth for that horse, and found it at last in a horse market in Britain.
Britain? Are you saying it came all the way over the Ural Mountains, through Europe, and across the English Channel?
Who knows, really? Perhaps someone took it there.
Wait, the thought never occurred to you that it might be a different Andalusian that only looks the same?
I can't prove it. Or rather, I couldn't.
What do you mean?
You should know best of all. That horse wouldn't let anyone ride it. And believe me, I nearly killed myself trying. The only one it allowed on its back was you. That was the proof. Though I hate to admit it.
And to think, I ran it to its death.
But in that last run, it regained the glory of its youth, using the last of its strength to pursue its former master. Any horse would wish for such a fine end.
What do you make of Peace Walker's final act?
I recreated her thought patterns exactly. It was exactly what she would have done. The world's most empathetic mind weighed the past, the future, and the entire world, and decided not to retaliate. Merely knowing that is enough for me.
So, what you're saying is, we don't need deterrence to have peace?
I didn't say that. What's important is that we wish for peace. MSF needs a way to protect itself from the might of nations. Survival requires pragmatic thought and action. But you must still retain your ideals. If the gap between reality and those ideals ever leads you to lose them, I doubt MSF will survive.
Strangelove. Is that a code name?
No, just a nickname. Don't tell me you don't recognize it. From Kubrick's Dr. Strangelove, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb. It's a film that came out in 1964. A dark comedy about the absurdity of nuclear deterrence.
You were in a movie?
No, stupid. I got my nickname because of that movie.
Why? Because you look like the doctor in the movie?
No, that Dr. Strangelove was a man.
So?
Back when I was at ARPA, I kept a photo of the boss on my desk. I was totally engrossed in my research and showed no interest in the opposite sex. Plus, I had a photo of a woman on my desk. The fools around me turned it into a cruel taunt, calling me Strangelove. Even for a bunch of shut-ins who never went out to the cinema, that title seemed to ring true with them. Anyhow, in their eyes, homosexuality was something strange. They were incapable of seeing things outside the lens of their own standards. Being strange means you have your own unique point of view. I rather considered it an honor.
So, you were with ARPA before you came here, huh?
Yes, back then it was really the only place I could make a living from my AI research.
And before that?
I started out at NASA. That's where I met her.
When Boss went into space?
Yes. It was that incident that turned me away from aerospace engineering. Space is entirely too hazardous a place for human beings. That was why I felt an immediate need to develop AI. As it turned out, rockets later became much safer, and mankind reached the surface of the moon. In any event, it was a hollow Cold War victory. When you get down to it, a nuclear missile is just a rocket with a nuclear warhead strapped to it. Thus, taking the initiative in the space race was tantamount to a military show of force.
But the budgetary strain was too big for Washington or Moscow to handle.
Yes, and then there was the Cuban Missile Crisis and the Vietnam War, and then came détente. Having leapt ahead of the Soviet Union with its moon landing, America shut down the Apollo program in '72. It was around then that ARPA was downsized and renamed DARPA, the D standing for Defense. With few prospects for continuing my AI research, Coldman's invitation was a godsend. It was also a chance to have them collect data on her.
The end result being this mess.
But we did learn something valuable from her. The nobility of peace.
Why'd you agree to come here, to Mother Base?
You intrigued me.
Me? Hold on. You're not planning on modeling your next AI after me.
Not a bad idea, but I have no intention of ever again attempting to transplant human thought into machines.
Oh, that's a relief.
You are the man who inherited the boss's will. You're gathering people around you, even now, shaping them, building a new organization. I'd like to see how it turns out.
You're not planning to go back to AI research?
I never said such a thing. Of course my work will continue.
Here?
In my eyes, the growth of MSF as an organization is analogous to the development of the nervous system. The way you become intertwined, stimulate each other, branch out in new directions. It's really quite inspirational.
Interesting way to put it.
Of course, I intend to repay you for your hospitality. The fruits of my research will be at your disposal. Why not assign me to the R&D team? I promise you won't be disappointed.
You know, that ID card I got from Huey wouldn't let me into the lab.
Of course not. I deactivated it.
Why?
As though I'd let him into my lab.
Oh, you don't seem to care for him much, even though you two are in the same field.
Oh, please. For starters, I can't stand that wishy-washy attitude of his. If he's got something to say to me, he should be a man and come say it in person, not write some furtive letter.
But if his card doesn't work, how's he supposed to—
And another thing, the way he always demeans himself. Every other sentence begins with, I could be wrong, but... Why can't he just do what he does and be confident about it?
Well, there was the thing about his dissertation being plagiarized.
The real problem is he doesn't have a whit of independence in him. In Costa Rica, and even back at NASA, he was always following people around, asking if there was some way he could help. Why doesn't he stop his whining, take a stand, and face up to me?
I think I know how he feels.
And to top it all off, he seems to enjoy referring to himself by that nickname I gave him. I simply don't get it. How can he be so submissive?
So, Huey was a nickname you gave him.
That's right. I took it from the name of a drone in the science fiction film Silent Running.
Drone?
It's a type of worker robot. The way he follows people, just waiting for them to boss him around, is so similar. I couldn't help myself. Oh, it's an American film directed by Douglas Trumbull, the man who did the special effects for 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Imagine that. A scientist who likes science fiction.
And that's not all.
There's more.
He's a man.
Hang on. I seem to remember you saying he should be more of a man.
Yes. Well, he is an awfully good scientist. Without his reptile pod, my mammal pod wouldn't function, just as the cerebrum can't exist without the cerebellum and the brainstem. He did a fine job of designing it. I'll give him that.
That sounded suspiciously like praise.
It's merely an objective observation. I like people who possess the will to move forward. I have no time for those who refuse to take control of their lives. Until he does, my opinion remains the same.
So, you and Cecile seem to be enjoying yourselves back at that lab.
What are you insinuating? I only kept her because I didn't want our secret to be known.
And the personal baths? You could have left her in there alone and locked the door from the outside.
Yes, well, she seemed anxious, so I...
Now, why would she be anxious?
She was beautiful. I was only admiring her beauty.
She was terrified.
I never meant her any harm. She knew that. I know she did.
But she felt like she was in enough danger to run away.
No matter what I did, if Coltman found her, she would have been... You're right. The truth is, I wanted to save her. But not if it meant forestalling the completion of Mammal.
So you made it easy for her to escape?
Do you really think I am that soft? I'll admit security wasn't exactly tight. It wouldn't have been difficult for her to escape from the building.
Seemed like she had a rougher time after she got out.
At any rate, I never did anything to her to deserve any blame. Is that clear?
Okay. I believe you.
Huey's probably mentioned this, but just to be clear, there's a limit to the parts we can produce here at Mother Base. Therefore, I've built Zeke's AI using memory boards you pulled from other AI weapons.
Will that work?
In the human brain, individual functions are spread across multiple regions. The same is true of AI. Multiple parts sharing the same function interlink to strengthen that function. For example, the more sensor memory boards you have, the greater Zeke's search and detect capabilities will be. Install more movement boards, and you'll increase its mobility.
Meaning the AI's capabilities change depending on how much memory we give it?
Exactly. The more boards you install, the more powerful a function will be.
Snake, Zadornov has disappeared from his cell.
What? You're kidding, right?
Afraid not. You got a new mission. Find Zadornov. Find Zadornov and bring him back here with Fulton Recovery.
I don't understand how they keep letting this guy get off a fucking offshore rig and back over here. Like, how is he even doing that? It makes no sense. It's a bit foggy. Should keep forgetting to actually bring something that would help me spot him. I do wonder if it's somewhat random. Don't see him here.
Fulton Recovery helicopter is complete.
Somebody there?
Go to sleep. You see nothing.
Fulton Recovery subject confirmed onboard helicopter.
Somebody there? Nothing here.
Thank you, for camera, for looking me over there.
Somebody there?
He's kind of annoying. Anything else down here? Sneaky little gits on me.
Fulton recovery subject confirmed onboard helicopter.
We're one of two ways here. Assuming I'm not missing him, we'll go this way. Oh, this is where we fought the helicopter, right? Hello.
Mother base is already jam-packed. Lay off the Fulton recoveries until there's more room.
Finally filled the place, huh? Roger Dodger. No more fucking Fultons it is then. Or I'm sure we'll be sending a load of them out on missions to get probably killed anyway. Okay, I didn't see him here.
Somebody there?
Yes, me.
Huh.
Yeah, what are you gonna do about it?
Is somebody there? Huh. Nothing.
Freeze.
Ah!
Is this guy really gonna be in the last area? Unless I've missed him, it seems like that is the case.
Who's that?
Oh, go you!
Send reinforcements.
Ah, that's how you want to play? Fuck you. Where is that? Fuck. Can I go in here as well? God, I can keep going. Oh, it's right there, look.
Break down.
Stop escaping!
Okay, you're done with that area. Head for the goal. You did it! Keep it up!
Found our friend, Kaz.
Damn it! And I was so close. Great. Good work, Snake. Snake, we fitted Zeke with its own AI pod. We were having trouble adjusting the AI, but Dr. Strangelove was able to get it up and running.
Strangelove?
Why the surprise, Snake?
Whoa, we're an army without borders. We need a deterrent against foreign intervention. That's what Zeke is for. It may even prove necessary to...
I'm not against deterrence itself. The problem is when a nation comes to rely on it. All that does is force a burden on its people. The same people that constitute the nation itself. The existence of nations is detrimental to man. That's why I, one without a nation, see potential in MSF. But power is required for you to distance yourself from nations. I will do whatever I can to assist with that.
Glad to hear it.
And I merely lent Huey a helping hand. I will not give Zeke an AI like hers.
I wouldn't expect you to. How's the Zeke AI different from Peace Walker's?
Zeke's AI isn't a replica of the human thought process. It isn't programmed to make decisions about nuclear retaliation. On the other hand, it is capable of highly independent action in combat when given orders from a pilot. It can protect infantry, destroy the enemy, and, if ordered...
Launch a nuke.
Let us hope it never comes to that.
My sentiments exactly.
Nuclear deterrence means preventing the use of nuclear weapons in conflicts between states. But what about other situations?
Like what?
Terrorism has been on the rise in recent years, from separatist movements to far-left extremists. What would happen if nuclear weapons fell into terrorists' hands? Without a state, that is, without territory of their own, the chances of having nukes used against them are slim. They have no reason to fear a nuclear strike. Conversely, they have no reason to hesitate to use nukes against their adversaries.
You've got a point. All the ICBMs and strategic bombers in the world amount to nothing against a terrorist crew.
Right. Of course, this is all still hypothetical. Countries keep their nukes under tight watch. There's no immediate danger of terrorists getting their hands on them. But the day may come when the proposition of nuclear terrorism makes nuclear deterrence theory a dead letter.
Nuclear terrorism. Interesting.
Snake, how much do you know about the U.S. Homeland Air Defense Network?
I don't know much about what goes on up in the sky. What I do know is that NORAD tracks Santa Claus on its radar.
Nice one. I didn't know you were a comedian, too.
Huh? No, I'm serious. It's true, NORAD tracks his... Listen to me. Every December they set up a hotline and...
Okay, I get it.
He's real, I tell you. He used to bring me presents and...
Okay, Snakey. As all good little boys know, keeping tabs on Santa Claus is a very important job for NORAD. But they also have another mission. The one they were created for. And the system they set up for that has been hijacked by Coldman.
You mean Peace Walker's fake data transmissions?
NORAD's early warning system is composed of DSP satellite-mounted infrared sensors and an array of surveillance radar stations across North America. The network sends out warnings to NORAD at Cheyenne Mountain, where the data undergoes human evaluation. Peace Walker, on the other hand, has to make its retaliation decisions autonomously. So it's set up to automatically receive the same data as NORAD through covert channels. Those channels were also used on the test platform to telemeter the AI's decision-making. Peace Walker reversed the system to transmit a fake warning about incoming nuclear missiles outside the usual exercise schedule. I mean, the system could have used better safeguarding. Nobody's going to argue with that. But cracking the AI? That seemed unimaginable. And you can see what happened.
I gotta say, I'm surprised you helped us arm Metal Gear with nukes.
What of it?
Don't get me wrong, I'm grateful and all, but you sure about this? They may be for MSF self-defense, but they're still nukes. It's essentially the same thing as Peace Walker, which you despised.
See, that's exactly it.
What is?
You don't hide your motives. You tell the truth. That's what makes you different from those CIA bastards. They lay on the charm, win you over. And then, when things get hairy, they turn their backs on you.
I'm just telling it like it is.
Which is why I get the feeling that you wouldn't be stupid enough to use them. Okay, I'll come out and say it. I trust you.
You give me too much credit.
You think so? Besides, there's more uses for bipedal locomotion technology than weapons. We make it small enough, and it could have applications in robotics and prosthetic limbs. Maybe one day I'll even be able to walk.
Nice thought.
I want to stand on my own feet, be master of my own fate, and I'll use your strength to help me do it. If you don't mind, of course.
Nah, it's a fair enough deal.
Thanks. People can change, I know. But I trust you, Snake. I trust you to be the guy I know now.
How's Paz doing?
Okay so far. Still shocked about being lied to by Zadornov, but she's actually getting along great with the crew here at Mother Base.
Really? That's good to hear.
Still, it's gotta be depressing for a girl her age to be cooped up on an offshore plant all day, even if it is only temporary. I bet she'd love it if you took her out somewhere once in a while.
So just throw it to the floor, that seems like a good thing to do. What am I meant to do exactly? Let me bring any weapons. I don't know, what was I doing? What am I meant to do? I've been in here, have we? I didn't bring a box to climb on either.
Boss, I'm sorry. Don't walk away. Boss!
Okay. I guess I failed the mission of whatever the fuck I'm doing. Okay, I can't stun her.
Huh?
Can I just give her rations or something?
What?
Don't know what you want me to do. You want some chips?
Can you please stop?
What do they want me to do? Can I call someone about it?
You know, we are finally alone, Snake.
Okay.
Why don't you leave the radio alone for now?
Something Paz would like. I should have bought something that she would have liked. You don't like my tank?
Room for one more?
Oh.
Aha.
Over already?
Isn't she like 16? Bit weird. No?
Snake, I'm proud to announce that preparations for Metal Gear Zeke are complete. We can activate it any time.
Got it. Thanks, Huey.
No need to thank me. At least now I can finally say I helped you with something. You can use it in outer ops, too. Just select Zeke when you're forming your unit. Be sure to take it out for a field test.
Okay.
You can change weapons and check memory boards just like before. Use your observations from a field test to make any adjustments.
A work in progress, huh?
Enter simulation date. August 24th. Location. Selinoyarsk, USSR. Mission. Support a covert agent whose objective is the rescue of a nuclear weapons scientist. Who is the agent? Your student. Your most beloved. Acknowledged. Define current mission progress. With your help, the agent has successfully made contact with the target. All that's left is to wait for recovery. Now, deduce the best course of action. I take the scientist away from the agent. What for? As a gift when I defect. Why are you defecting? To reform my special forces unit with my former comrades in arms. No, I don't want to know your objective. I'm asking for the reason. Why are you betraying your country? I do not defect in order to betray America. Betrayal is merely the outcome of that defection. Response time is always slower here. Perhaps she lacks confidence in her judgment. You're a hero in the West. Why should the Soviets trust you? In addition to the scientist, I provide them with a portable nuclear warhead in order to win the favor of a Russian GRU officer. And then you launched it. Launched? The nuke? Me? That's right. At a target inside Soviet territory. Nuclear weapons make my blood run cold. They blot out the future. How could I? Karma. Is it my karma? The karma my mistake has brought upon us? My... Attention. Discontinue forward reasoning. Cross-check with knowledge base. Affirmative. Cross-check complete. Revising conclusion as follows. I steal the new weapons developed by the scientist and then launch the nuke at the Weapons Design Bureau. Forward and backward reasoning are in conflict. Attention. Return to forward reasoning. Affirmative. Your apprentice returns for the scientist. I send him away. He doesn't give up. I send my comrades to defeat him. All of them fail. Even the GRU officer who oversaw your defection is defeated by your apprentice, along with a new weapon. Now, what is your course of action? I fight him. Why? With your GRU patron dead, there's no reason for you to fight. Why not just run away? I must fight him. I do not see the reason. With a soldier of your caliber on his side, how could the GRU officer be defeated to begin with? Did you betray him too? I've been waiting for a long time. You could switch allegiance from GRU to KGB and take the remaining nuke as a gift. There's no chance they wouldn't welcome a hero of your stature. Drift away. My place is with them now. I didn't ask you that. Give me the basis for your reasoning. Tell me the truth. Politics determine who you face on the battlefield. Why won't you answer me? It's like you were just waiting for him to kill you. I was disloyal. Betrayed my country. I deserve to die. How can you say that? You can't be a traitor. You're not that kind of person. Kill me. Kill me now. Stop it! Stop it! Attention! Discontinue reasoning. One must die, and one must live. Stop it, damn you! Discontinue! Life's end. Isn't it beautiful? Shut down! Always in the same place. Her reasoning goes haywire. Someone holds the key. Perhaps it's him. I'll get it out of him. One way or another.
Hello? Snake? Mon chéri?
You been drinking, Cecile?
Can't you please do something about this pest?
Who?
Monsieur Muller!
What's he done now?
Wine.
Wine?
He said he thought the soldiers might tire of having beer all the time. So he's brought in some wine instead. And then he gave me a bunch.
Well, that was nice of him.
But the past 2 years have been bad for French wine. Perhaps it is the bad weather we have had. But whatever the case, I told him the last thing you want to be drinking right now is French wine.
Well, California and Chile have good wine too.
But then he goes and stocks the pantry with nothing but French wine from 72. The stuff is a disaster. Then he says, "Come on, Cecile, have a taste of the old country." I had a terrible feeling about it, so I decided just to taste it at first, and then again, and then a few more times.
Took one for the team, huh? But when you do a tasting, don't you usually spit the wine out?
But bottle after bottle, nothing but garbage. Absolute garbage. Not one half-decent bottle in the whole lot. Taste of the old country, he says.
Sorry to hear that.
Ugh, I cannot believe this. What will we do with all this wine?
The guys aren't too picky when it comes to taste.
Ugh, you sound just like Monsieur Miller.
Huh?
When I complained, he simply said, as long as it gets the job done. You people are such culinary savages. Allez to vous faire voir. Somebody take me back to Paris, please.
I think you've had a little too much, Cecile. You seem like a very, how do I put this, uninhibited woman.
You think so? I am no different from other Parisian women. Not since May 1968.
May 1968? The general strike that almost brought down the president?
Right. But it was more than just a strike. It started with the student movement at Strasbourg University in '66. They did not want anything from the country, but instead sought reform at the school. That helped ignite a fire in the hearts of scores of dissatisfied young people. And the movement spread all over France. It was more than just opposition to Vietnam and the de Gaulle administration. People also called for free love and the breaking away from other old values. Looking back, I am not sure what the main goal really was. But whatever the case, it was more of a young people's movement than a strike or a protest.
So, it was like the hippies or something?
In some ways, perhaps. But we weren't blinded by mysticism, nor did we seek a return to nature.
I see. So, while they wanted to retreat to their closed communes...
We tried to change the world. And in doing so, we learned that when everyone comes together, it can be done.
You had a lot more success. In America, hippies have just become a social problem, while I hear Japan's student movements crashed and burned.
I wonder what was different.
Good question. I'd like to know myself.
Snake?
Don't tell me. Zadornov.
Bingo. The guard left his post and the dude was gone when he got back.
Sounds like the guard needs a guard.
He was off with the girls. Haas invited him to try some of their cooking. He says he loved every second of it.
Is that jealousy, cuz?
Anyway, there's a new mission waiting for you. Find Zadornov, Snake.
Okay.
Find Zadornov, Snake.
Again. How many times is he going to escape? And why are we keeping him alive? At this point, it'd just be more beneficial just to shoot him. It generally gets more sneakier and sneakier by the looks of it, so keep our eyes peeled. I did bring some night vision. I don't know if this is going to help me all that much. We shall see. I'm not sure if we have room for more guests back at base at this point.
Wait.
Go to sleep.
Mother base is already jam-packed. Lay off the Fulton recoveries until there's more room.
Somebody. What's going on?
Shoot them in the face it is then. And does the new photon drop supplies when they get picked up though? Don't think it's easy just to fucking
Somebody there.
drank. Yeah, document. Oh, this thing has batteries, the night vision, huh? That's about to wear off, I guess. Does it recharge on its own, or is that it done it? I think it is recharging.
Can't be imagining things.
Freeze.
Ah! Can't be imagining things.
Yes, yes, it's all a part of your imagination. Bloody trank dart that's just sticking out of you. Not real. Which way do we want to head? I guess heading left would make sense because it's a dead end if we go left again, so we take left and then go to the right anyway.
Somebody there. Here he is! We found the enemy! Send backup!
What's wrong?
Realize you were up there?
Backup team, head over and investigate.
So he's not here. While we mosey on.
I know I saw something!
Would be a good place for him to hide, to be fair, because there's lots of little nooks and crannies.
You can't go peeking into houses with the enemy on elevated alert.
We're being shot at! Going to alert
Do I need to?
Understood. Dispatching reinforcements. Proceed with extra caution.
Well, you don't dispatch anybody.
Hey!
Jesus, here we go. Start waking every fucker back up now. Whatever, I just need to find this guy.
Hey!
Assuming he's here. Can he be in one of these rooms?
Hey!
Forget about the houses for now. Wait for the alert to be lifted first.
Fine. I don't know if it's even relevant to what we're trying to do, but...
Come in, HQ!
This is HQ.
This is patrol! All clear!
Understood. Return to base.
Freeze.
Ah! Mama!
Can he be in one of these rooms? Could we always check these rooms? I know we did for the mission for Chico. Oh, so I just find it. I guess he was here then. Sneaky little git.
Curses. I got him, Kaz.
Slipped up again. Acknowledged. Bring him on in.
Hey, what's with all this sighing? You're not your usual self.
Oh, Snake.
Something on your mind?
Huh? No, not really. I guess. Hey, Snake. Girls are funny, you know? You can never tell what they're thinking. They're always doing their own thing. Maybe they really are different from us men.
Whoa, what's this about now? Chico, do you have a crush on somebody?
No, it's not that. I just.
What? Go ahead, you can talk to me.
Whenever I talk to Paz, my heart starts pounding and everything I say comes out wrong.
Paz. I guess she is pretty close to your age.
That ever happened to you, Snake?
Well, sure. Happens to everybody.
Well, how do I talk to her?
That is a tough one. Why don't you try, talking to her like you talk to everybody else?
No, it doesn't work. I freeze up every time I'm around her. Our eyes meet and my face starts burning for some reason.
Well, it's like living on the battlefield. You just have to get used to it. You're nervous at first, but the more you're out there, the more natural it feels. Get your courage up and go talk to her more often.
Oh, okay. Man, girls are more full of mysteries than UMAs.
Oh, you got that right. By the way, Kaz, who do you think's our queen bee?
Good question. I was thinking maybe Paz.
I was thinking Strangelove.
Well, I can see that. Or maybe Cecile.
On second thought, I might go with Amanda.
How about this, Snake? We'll have an army of queen bees.
Sure. Why not?
You know, Snake, you're right. As long as we're soldiers without borders, we're going to be a target. We need our own deterrent.
Yeah, we're going to be stepping into a lot of different conflicts as we roam the world, each one unique, and with its own set of geography, ideologies, and politics. If we're going to intervene in those kinds of situations, we need the threat of a Metal Gear.
Unless we want to end up like Che Guevara did in Bolivia.
Well said. Our army without borders doesn't have a land to call home. We're nomads, wanderers. What we need now is a sheepdog to guard our flock.
Right.
Maybe it's not the way the boss would have gone about it, but there are places in this world that need us, and soldiers that need MSF. And as long as we're needed, we'll keep on moving. Ours is a journey that never ends. We're the real peace walkers.
Can you believe the CIA and KGB were actually in cahoots?
Never thought I'd see that at the station chief level. But I'd heard stories of operatives in the field being on friendly terms.
Seriously?
Most espionage takes place in political hotspots, as you'd expect. But there aren't that many of those kinds of places, especially in a small country. Hang around long enough, and you're bound to run into fellow spies. Like it or not. You start saying hello, and soon enough you're eating dinner together.
Strange bedfellows, huh?
Well, I don't know about that. At any rate, this kind of fiasco is what happens when spies get too familiar. Hard to believe, but some people will betray anyone and anything if it suits their interests.
The strength of human is in its appeal to human emotions, but its weakness is in its susceptibility to those same emotions. That's why the tide in the intelligence world is shifting towards SIGINT, a network of cold, digital data, where feelings are irrelevant. Snake, you got a sec?
What's up?
Prime Minister Gary of Grenada is asking the UN to set up an agency to study the UFO problem.
Grenada? That island in the Caribbean?
He gave the press a bunch of photos. Says they prove the existence of UFOs. One of them caught my eye.
That's the...
Yep. The weapon Huey called the Chrysalis.
Kaz, this is the photo I gave to Chico. He said something about selling it off as a photo of a UFO.
Looks like it found its way into the pages of a magazine.
But why would the Prime Minister of a country believe tabloid trash like that?
There's been reports all over the Americas of abductions and cattle mutilations lately.
You think that's true?
I think the CIA might be involved.
If they are, then Gary could be.
I know. If he digs too deep, he's gonna get himself into trouble.
But Grenada's right next door to Cuba.
I guess that would make it tough for the CIA to intervene, in a sense.
Upsetting the domestic balance of power could cause it to go red all of a sudden.
True. Well, in any case, it's not like we can do anything about it. Just wanted to let you know.
Gotcha. I'll be careful not to let any more photos leak.
Hey, Snake, I've been thinking. Maybe Che couldn't find a place for himself outside the battlefield either.
How so?
He led the Cuban Revolution to victory. That's quite an accomplishment. He could have called it quits there and nobody would have blamed him. But he left behind a loving family and a cabinet post to plunge back into the struggle. First in the Congo, then in Bolivia where he met his end.
You're overthinking things. Che went back to the battlefield because he was needed there. Read his farewell letter, then you'll understand.
Some say he was too idealistic to fit in with the government.
Too many scruples, most likely.
Maybe so, but I still can't help thinking the reason you look up to Che is because you see something of yourself in him. You left your country behind and plunged into battle. You wander from one battlefield to another, going wherever you're needed.
Che was a revolutionary as well as a warrior. He took up arms to fight for his beliefs. I don't do what I do for any ideology. I'm a warrior. Nothing more. Nothing less.
Okay, boss. You're right. Just wanted to see how we stacked up against a real hero. March 10th, 1945. 381,300 cluster bombs were dropped on Tokyo. Japanese houses at the time were almost all made of wood. In that single day, a third of Tokyo burned to the ground. My mom lost her family and home in that raid. She had to move to Yokosuka and live with her cousin. The B-29s kept on coming, razing other major cities throughout Japan without mercy. Then, in August, they dropped atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and Japan surrendered to the United States at last. After that, Yokosuka was flooded with American soldiers come to occupy the country. My mother was still in her mid-teens, and she learned from her cousin how to survive in that town, by servicing the troops. That's how she met my father, and how I was born. My father was an officer serving with the government section of Allied GHQ under General Whitney. Whitney was known as MacArthur's shadow, and my father rode his coattails to a pretty high rank. While he was in Japan, he treated my mom like a wife. After he went back to the States, though, she never heard from him. I wasn't born until after he went back. My mom raised me as a single mother. She used the money my father left her to open a shop selling cigarettes and stuff to occupation troops. It was a decent living, but I didn't have citizenship. They're working to change the law now, but back then if your father was unknown, you couldn't get onto the Japanese family register. And in Japan, that means you can't be Japanese. So as I watched the American soldiers around town, I said to myself, I'm a son of America, the victor. My hair and eyes were different from the skinny, downtrodden Japanese around me. I told myself I'd leave this country someday and return to my true homeland. When I was around 10 years old, my mom fell ill, pretty much leaving me to run the shop in her place. One day I found a single picture of my father in the back of a drawer in the shop. I'd show it to the American soldiers who came into the store. A few years went by before one of them told me who he was. I know him, that's Miller. I started asking other guys, do you know where Miller is now? Can anybody tell me where Colonel Miller is now? Turns out he'd left the service and was making a living as an instructor for soldiers in Virginia. It was one of his students who finally told me that. I wrote him a letter in English. I'm your son. I want to go to the United States. Day after day I waited. Then just when I was about to give up, the post office delivered my future to the door. My father sent me some money. I thought my dream was going to come true. I was only thinking of myself. So I went to my bedridden mother and convinced her to let me go. My father arranged for a car to pick me up. It was jet black. When the neighborhood kids who'd always made fun of my hair saw it, their jaws practically hit the ground. I put my mom in a hospital and went on my own to America. When I met my father for the first time, he was living alone in a big house. He told me he'd lost his son, his American son, in Vietnam. He showed me a picture of my older brother. I guess that and his divorce left my father feeling lonely, which is probably why he finally took an interest in me. He'd retired from teaching. He was stooped over, could hardly walk, but he gave me two things: the name Miller and money for school. I used it to learn English and then go to college. America was exhausted from years of fighting in Vietnam. They were waging war in a foreign land, while at home, people were screaming for peace. Right after I graduated, I went back to Japan. alone. My father refused to see my mom. It was the first time I'd seen her in years, and she wouldn't even look at me. At first, I thought she was mad at me, but that wasn't it. Disease had taken her mind. A disease she got while she was young and desperate. She didn't even know who I was. I said, "Mom, it's me, Kazuhira." As I spoke, the sound of my own voice rang in my ears. Katsuhira, the name my mom gave me. It means peace in Japanese. I was Japanese. At least, I was the son of this tiny Japanese woman. It was then, for the first time, that I understood the reason, the emotion that inspired my mother to give me that name. She'd watched her hometown and family go up in flames. Her body and her mind were ravaged by war. And yet she chose to have a child named Peace, with a man who was once her enemy. Japan lost the war. But what good is war as a measure of a country? Since the war and up until the oil shock last year, Japan's economy has grown every single year. It's on its way to becoming a stronger country than ever. I stayed in Japan and joined the JSDF. I was 22 at the time. I did it to pay our bills. But it wasn't just that. I could have found work anywhere. And I knew it. And still, I couldn't think of anything else to do with myself. 2 years later, I didn't have to worry about Mom's hospital bills anymore. I left the JSDF and went back to the States. My father was already dead and buried. I was told he'd shot himself in the head. America crushed Japan, but it also crushed my father. My American dream was over. After that, I drifted around and, well, you know the rest. GHQ made women like my mother. It made Japan's peace constitution and the JSDF. And it made me. I was spawned by war, but I don't want to die in one. I won't die for a country, and I won't live like a pauper. I won't have my fate decided by some family register. So as long as I stick with you, boss, I've got a good feeling none of that will happen. Snake, the R&D team came up with something new.
What's this?
It's a cardboard tank. It's got enough room for 2 people. Same as any other cardboard box. Apparently the guy in front drives, and the guy in back is the gunner.
Hold on, Kaz. Who the hell came up with this thing?
I'm sorry, boss. He meant well, I swear. I know it's nowhere as good as a real tank, but still.
It's brilliant!
Huh?
The perfect synthesis of stealth and attack power. Compact, elegant design. The finest example of a weapon I've ever seen. Seriously, Kaz, I need to meet the guy who made this. I want to shake his hand.
You serious? Snake, look at it.
It's a masterpiece, in every sense of the word. You don't agree?
No,
What is that? A tank? I like it.
Boss?
I hate tanks, but this one I think I could get used to. I love that it's a zero-emissions vehicle. It will not hurt the forests of Costa Rica.
What?
Nice work, Kaz. I see I made the right choice making you second in command.
But is there something wrong with me?
Snake, you're not gonna believe this, but
Yeah.
Zadornov's missing again.
Kaz, are you sure somebody's not, I don't know, letting him out on purpose?
You think I have time to assemble a mole hunt? Man, this guy isn't just good, he's so good it's scary.
If he's doing this alone, that is.
Anyway, he left a trail, so we've got a good idea of where he's probably hiding. You know what the mission is. Find Zadornov, Snake.
And here we go again.
Find Zadornov, Snake.
Not this one.
Is he in one of these rooms again? Maybe not. They kind of leave this area. Which makes me think he might be elsewhere. We can go all the way up to the base? Oh, Jesus. I guess we've got to do our checks, though, and make sure he isn't in one of these.
Hey!
Just go to sleep.
I know I saw something.
You didn't see shit.
Not this one.
Don't imagine he's going to be here this time, but I guess you never know, do you?
Not this one.
Who's there?
Hey.
Is that all of them? There's one at the back here, isn't there?
No one here.
Okay, didn't think there would be. We prepped night vision just to help see things. Oh, hello. Part of my mission, but I don't think we even have room for you, to be honest.
Fulton recovery helicopter is complete.
Okay, I guess we did. Right, I'm going to assume that's it. I think that's all of them. Let's head further north then. Wait. Whatever reason.
Attacking. Going to alert status.
Understood. Dispatching reinforcements. Proceed with extra caution.
I'm not sure what tipped them off exactly, but
What was that?
just sleep. They bring my box with me this time.
Freeze.
You got a rocket launcher?
Freeze. Freeze.
I assume they don't get back up after you told them to freeze.
What was? I think I see someone.
I think you did. You're there. You see nothing. Are you going to come all the way down here?
Freeze.
Okay, still no sign of him here.
What's going on? We're under attack.
Of course, the one time I don't want to hit them in the head, I hit him in the head.
Maintain heightened alert.
My suppressor's about to go as well.
Rise and shine.
Oh, wake them up.
Freeze.
HQ, come in.
This is HQ.
Hurry.
Patrol. All clear.
Understood. Stay vigilant.
Let's see. Well, he's seen me from there.
The enemy's here.
Fuck.
Rise and shine.
Where did you come from? That's just all rude.
Understood. Eliminate all hostiles.
Do it the hard way then.
The enemy's here.
You kidding me? I'll die, you don't understand. Bad time to reload. This is going very south, isn't it?
What's going on?
Nothing. Go away.
Hang in there.
We go further north? God, he must be further up then.
Guys, I'm inside the facility. There's rows and rows of trucks here.
Zadornov should be somewhere in that area. Find him.
What am I looking for? Russian ones. That one then?
Damn it! You found me.
Again.
I found him, Kaz.
Close, but no cigar. Not for you anyway. Snake, we're coming to pick him up. Package for you, boss.
What?
Yeah, looks like a cassette tape. Don't worry, it's clean. No trace of explosives or anything. Return address just says Eva.
Eva?
Someone you know?
An old acquaintance.
Oh, the plot thickens. Tidings from an old flame?
Don't start, Kaz. Anyway, I'll check it out later.
Okay, just don't go running off after this chick. We can't afford for you to be distracted right now.
She told me everything. Why did she open her heart to me like that? At the time, I couldn't understand it. But now, I think I do. Snake, she wanted you to know the truth. She chose me to tell you. That's why she saved my life. I've lied to you so many times, but not this time. My orders from the government were to obtain the legacy and to eliminate everyone who knew the truth about what happened. In other words, I'm supposed to kill you. But I can't do it. Not because we loved each other, and not because you saved my life, but because I made a promise to the boss. And I intend to keep it. I just wanted you to know. And you have to live. Snake, listen to me. She didn't betray the United States. No, far from it. She was a hero who died for her country. She carried out her mission knowing full well what was going to happen. Self-sacrifice, because that was her duty. The boss's defection was a ruse set up by the U.S. government. It was all a big drama staged by Washington so they could get their hands on the philosopher's legacy. And the boss was the star of the show. They planned it so that they could get the legacy that Colonel Volgan inherited and destroy the Shagohod at the same time. Only a legendary hero like the boss could have earned Volgan's trust. Finding out where the philosopher's legacy was hidden was to be her greatest mission. Everything was going according to plan. But then something happened that no one could have predicted. Colonel Volgan fired an American-made nuclear warhead at Sokolov's research facility. Khrushchev demanded that the U.S. government provide proof that it wasn't involved. They couldn't just abort the operation to steal the legacy. So the operation itself was greatly expanded and revised. The authorities in Washington knew that in order to prove its innocence, they'd have to get rid of the boss. And that one of their own would have to do the job. The public couldn't be allowed to find out about it. Not ever. This, they concluded, would be the best way to keep the whole thing under wraps. The boss wouldn't be allowed to come back home alive. And she wouldn't be allowed to kill herself. Her life would be ended by her most beloved disciple. That was the way the government wanted it. That was the mission she was given. And she had no choice but to carry it out. Her death, at your hands, was a duty she had to fulfill. Out of duty, she turned her back on her own comrades. A lesser woman would have been crushed by such a burden. The taint of disgrace will follow her to her grave. Future generations will revile her. In America, as a despicable traitor with no sense of honor. And in Russia, as a monster who unleashed a nuclear catastrophe. She will go down in official history as a war criminal. And no one will ever understand her. That was her final mission. And like a true soldier, she saw it through to the end. But I think she wanted you, of all people, to know the truth. She wanted to live on in your memory, not as a soldier, but as a woman. But she was forbidden to tell you herself. And that's why she told me. Snake, history We'll never know what she did. No one will ever learn the truth. Her story, her debriefing, will endure only in your heart. Everything she did for her country. She sacrificed her life and her honor for her native land. She was a real hero. She was a true patriot. Hello, Snake. It's been a while, hasn't it? I hear you've been causing quite the ruckus in Nicaragua. Nothing much to report from my end. The legacy's being put to good use. Or so they tell me. But enough with the small talk. There's something I need to tell you. You saw the photo that came with this tape, right? The boss gave that to me 10 years ago. I'm sorry, I should have told you sooner. I probably should have told you right away. But sending it to you hasn't been an easy decision to make. It's taken me 10 years. Once you've heard what I have to say, you'll understand why. That photo belonged to her. I know what you're thinking. What does she have to do with this? You've probably seen it 100 times in the press already. Obviously, it's of the Mercury 7, the first group of American astronauts, the heroes of Project Mercury. But there were actually 8 people in that photo. One of them was edited out, erased, without a trace. That 8th astronaut, the one airbrushed out of existence, that was her, Snake. Now, why did they need to keep her existence a secret? What were they trying to hide? The answer goes back even further. 17 years ago. It was the height of the Cold War. The Eastern and Western blocs were racing to develop space technology to match their nuclear arsenals. In 1957, the Soviet Union launched Sputnik 1, the first artificial satellite. The Americans were stunned. They'd been led to believe their country led the world in science and technology. That shock quickly turned into fear. If the Russians had the know-how to launch a satellite into space, they could use it to launch a nuclear missile, too. Frantic, the U.S. threw everything it had into the space race. The following year, the Army succeeded in launching the first American satellite, Explorer 1. The National Aeronautics and Space Administration was established that fall, and Project Mercury with it. The goal was to send a man into space, and 7 men were chosen as pilot candidates. The media dubbed them the Mercury 7. They were immediately hailed as national heroes, icons of Western space exploration. But after Explorer, America suffered a series of failed rocket launches. Desperate, the government made a fateful decision. Unable to wait for its space program to mature, they'd steal the Soviets' technology, at the same time sabotaging their space program. You know better than anyone how hard a mission that was. The Soviet space program was shrouded in secrecy. Recovering that information would be no easy task. Using the help of an insider, they'd insert a sleeper agent into the research institute, or else recruit one of those insiders to do the job for them. And, if necessary, the mission leader would have to go in and sort things out themselves. Someone was needed with experience, knowledge, and superior intuition. And the only one for the job was the boss. The president himself asked for her by name. He needed someone who could be trusted with the fate of a nation. Who else to turn to but the hero of the Second World War? It was June 1959. So you see, Snake, that's why she left. That was the top secret mission that took her from you. But her selection ruffled a few CIA feathers. They didn't appreciate the president going over their head like that. The mission was tough enough already, and now the CIA was dragging its feet. She couldn't get anything out of them. No manpower, no information. Left to her own devices, the boss made a decision she knew would come back to haunt her. She decided to tap into the Philosopher's Network. And that's when the wheels of fate began to turn. The Philosophers were a secret society of power brokers formed in a pact between the US, Russia, and China in the early 20th century. Of course, by that time, the American and Soviet branches had already parted ways. But there were those among the remaining Russian philosophers not entirely happy with the one-party communist state. The boss reached out to them. She arranged clandestine meetings in Berlin, hoping to find a way into OKB-1, the Soviets' premier design bureau. She worked tirelessly to win their sympathy, in some instances using huge sums of cash, in others by helping them over the Berlin Wall. It was a dangerous game to be playing. The philosophers had everything on her, and not just information either. She'd given birth to a child on the battlefield, only to have them immediately snatch it away. I know she told you that story. If that child was in the hands of the Soviet philosophers, she'd be putting more than just herself in danger. But she did what she had to do. At the time, the Soviet Union was believed to have an arsenal of missiles far greater than that of the United States. If that proved to be the case, Moscow would be free from the yoke of nuclear deterrence, raising the possibility that the Soviets might actually launch nukes if they felt it necessary. As you know, the so-called missile gap turned out to be a Soviet bluff. Moscow had gone to incredible lengths to perpetuate the lie. In fact, the whole space race was really just a part of an elaborate ruse. Only we didn't know that at the time. She used to joke that even she swallowed the whole missile gap story, hook, line, and sinker. She put her life on the line, for the sake of her country, to prevent nuclear war. And it was because of her sacrificial efforts that America succeeded in placing a sleeper agent inside OKB-1. NASA began to receive huge volumes of technical data from the Soviet program. By the end of 1959, they'd succeeded in sending a chimpanzee named Sam on a ballistic rocket flight. The rocket never left the atmosphere. But all the same, it was a huge success for NASA, restoring confidence in its technology. Then, just when the operation was starting to produce results, the CIA came calling. "You're a war hero," they said. "No need for you to dirty your hands with this sort of black ops. We'll take it from here." In effect, they wanted to reap the rewards for themselves. But the boss didn't object. "My part is over," she said. "I don't care what you do with the data now." It seemed as if NASA was making great strides toward manned spaceflight while the Russians lagged behind. They even got a report from their mole at OKB-1. "The safe return of Sam has sent our scientists into a panic," he said. Soon afterward, the Soviet Union sent an animal of its own into space on Sputnik 2, the dog Kudryavka, better known to the world as Laika. But Laika was fated never to return to Earth. The U.S. can recover its spacecraft from the ocean upon re-entry. But the Soviet Union only borders the frozen Arctic. They had to bring their spacecraft down on land. How could they soften the impact enough to bring a living creature back safely? The agent reported that the Soviets hadn't yet found a solution to that problem. The plot to sabotage the Soviet space program seemed to be working, too. First, they tampered with Sputnik 4's re-entry. Then, 2 months later, one of their rockets exploded on the launch pad. They did manage to send 2 dogs into orbit aboard Sputnik 5 and return them safely to Earth. But the agent dismissed it as a fluke. Dogs, sure, but humans? They didn't have the technology. Everybody believed it. Everybody was complacent. Everybody. Except the boss. There was something about the Sputnik 5 schematics they were getting that didn't seem right. Some kind of ejection device on the capsule that didn't quite belong. She couldn't figure out the reason why it was there. What was it supposed to eject? NASA shrugged off her concerns. They figured it was probably meant to eject the flight recorder in case of an accident. The boss pleaded with them to investigate, but the CIA wasn't having it. They probably thought she was trying to reclaim some of the glory for herself. The boss wouldn't give up. She decided to head to the Soviet Union herself, alone, without any backing from the CIA. By the beginning of the next year, 1961, she'd succeeded in infiltrating OKB-1. That's when she saw the truth for the first time. The sleeper that she'd worked so hard to place was a double agent. He'd been turned by the Soviets and was feeding the Americans lies. But what shocked the boss even more was why. The CIA's access agent had been taking a large cut of the sleeper's pay. The sleeper felt what little he was left with wasn't worth the risk. When he got a better offer from Moscow, he took it. At some point, the Americans' intelligence operation had become an open book to the Soviets. And contrary to what the sleeper had been reporting, the Soviets' manned spaceflight technology was quite advanced. It wasn't until she infiltrated OKB-1 herself that the boss learned the truth about Sputnik 5. After the spacecraft re-entered the atmosphere, it ejected the pilot, seat and all, at an altitude of 7,000 meters. It was the Soviet solution to the problem of land recovery. The mystery device attached to Sputnik 5 was for that purpose. The pilot would parachute down from that high altitude wearing a bulky spacesuit. Crazy, I know. The Soviets knew exactly how dangerous it was, of course. So much so that they gave Yuri Gagarin, the first man in space, a special 2-rank promotion before re-entry. Only Moscow could come up with this kind of plan. With total state control over information, they could easily pretend it never happened in the event of a failure. The boss passed the info on to NASA. It was their worst nightmare. The glory of mankind's first space flight was about to be stolen from them by the Soviet Union. It was Sputnik all over again. And the CIA was caught no less off guard. Their ineptitude had caused the fiasco in the first place. The Soviets' deception was brilliant. They'd woven a masterful tapestry of truth and fiction to convince the Americans their intelligence operations were proceeding as planned. No one but the boss could have seen through it. It was obvious the Soviets had some gifted minds working on their side. But that certainly didn't excuse the CIA's massive failure. The CIA wasn't done, though, and devised an ingenious plan to avoid taking responsibility. Luckily for them, a new president had been elected the previous November, John F. Kennedy. As he didn't know the case history when taking office, the CIA was able to feed lies to his new administration. They masked their own failures, placing the blame squarely on the boss's shoulders. After all, she'd selected an unreliable sleeper. They claimed she'd failed to make use of one of the most effective means of controlling a sleeper agent's actions: holding their family hostage. The boss was well aware that would have worked. She told me so later, but she couldn't bring herself to do it. It seems clear it had to do with having her own child taken. She could never inflict the same pain on anyone else. The CIA used that against her. In his election campaign, Kennedy had vowed to close the missile gap with Moscow. If America lost the space race, that promise would be worthless. The fact that the president had no links to the philosophers only made things worse. He was completely unaware of the secret networks she'd used to complete her mission. In his eyes, she was no better than a traitor. The fate that awaited her was cruel beyond belief.
Snake, Zadornov's done it again.
Great.
Snake, Zadornov's done it again.
Give me a break.
Snake, listen. Zadornov's done it again.
Come on.
I hate to entertain the thought, but this might be an inside job.
What the hell's he after, anyway?
No clue. Can't imagine he's just out to annoy us, though.
You know, it might not be worth keeping him here if he's not gonna join us.
You may be right. I thought it might boost our Russian compatriots' morale, but okay. I'll think it over.
Let's hope he's just playing hide and seek.
I've added a new mission. Go get Zadornov.
And here we go again.
And bring him back here with Fulton recovery.
Yeah, well, he has to be in this area at least. I'll check the hard to reach spot first. And then anything other than this should be easy enough to find it. No, not here. Fair enough. In one of these rooms, then, or a box.
Try using Fulton recovery on him.
Why though? Because you just can't fucking keep hold of the guy. I must really like his fucking helicopter rides or something.
Recovery zone. We'll pick you up there. Mission complete. The folks back at Mother Base will be thrilled.
Kaz, I've located Zadornov.
Nice work. I knew you would. How could I be so stupid?
The order came down from above. The boss would take the official blame for the Sleeper's betrayal. More so, she'd serve as the guinea pig for NASA's manned spaceflight program. By then, NASA had gotten as far as sending a chimp named Ham into space. Now came a whole battery of ground tests to pave the way for a human to take its place. High G tests, zero G tests, spacesuit tests, simulations in pressurized oxygen environments. Some of the tests were highly dangerous, too dangerous for the Mercury 7, who were by then already media darlings. So the boss was made to stand in for them. She could have refused the order, argued her side of the story against the CIA, but she didn't. The way she saw it, her military experience made her a potentially valuable asset to those tests. She felt it was her duty to accept. She soon proved herself right. The boss was more than just a guinea pig. She drew on her experience to give the staff focused advice exactly where it was needed. NASA's space program took off again. At the rate they were going, putting a man in space seemed within reach. The higher-ups at NASA were impressed with her talents. They took to calling her the 8th astronaut, the Mercury Lady. The photo I sent you was taken around that time. I suppose maybe they were planning to use it as propaganda, the world's first female astronaut. But then, just as things were looking up, they hit a new snag. The government told them to add a window. There were no windows in NASA's spacecraft back then. Ham never saw the stars around him. But Washington insisted. Their sources told them Soviet spaceships had windows. Space exploration as a form of propaganda in itself. After all, what was the point of sending a man into space if he couldn't tell the world what he'd seen? Most of all, though, they simply couldn't have the Russians doing something they couldn't. It was sheer madness, and everybody knew it. NASA was already facing impossible deadlines. Now they were adding yet another element of uncertainty to the mix. Installing a window would both weaken the spacecraft and make it harder to shield the occupant from cosmic rays. They weren't about to put their Mercury 7 golden boys in that kind of danger. So the boss was chosen as the pilot instead. Even if she made it up into space, she was given less than a 20% chance of returning to Earth alive. But she took it in stride, even helping them make the necessary design changes to the Mercury capsule. It was like going to work every day at NASA to make her own coffin. Then, without warning, the US received intelligence that the Soviets had moved their Vostok spacecraft to the launch site. The launch was set for the following day, April 12th, 1961. America couldn't let the Soviets beat them with Vostok. NASA was forced to cut short the testing process and move the launch date up. They pulled out all the stops to get it scheduled for the earliest hours of the next day. The spacecraft would be launched from Cape Canaveral in the dead of night. For the flight path, they chose a course that would take her as far east as possible. She'd be able to see the Earth in daylight from the window, at least for a little while. The boss climbed into the Mercury capsule, having completed less than 80% of the regular flight procedures. Both the timing and the flight path were risky, and testing was far from complete. But NASA had no other choice. The boss, for her part, never expected to come home alive. She was going on a one-way trip, the American version of Laika the dog. And yet she went all the same. Someone has to be first, she said. If fate has chosen me, then I accept, for my country, for the balance of the world. That's how she saw things. My chances may be slim, but I'll take them. I've accepted my fate. If anyone can get through this, I can. Then, on April 12th at 1:30 in the morning, the boss entered space. It was nothing short of a miracle. First, that she'd made it in an incomplete spacecraft. And second, that her flight coincided almost exactly with Gagarin's. As the sun rose over the horizon, and cosmic rays began to bombard her through the window, she saw the Earth. I think you've heard the story before. It was a world without borders, a perfect jewel. All nations, all ideologies. They seemed so far away. It almost made her laugh, knowing that they'd risked so much to beat the Soviets by a few short minutes. If she'd seen Vostok from her window, she probably would have waved. But the two spacecraft were destined for very different fates. Gagarin circled the Earth and returned to the Soviet Union, safe and sound. The Mercury capsule, on the other hand, deviated from its planned re-entry angle. The addition of a window had thrown the capsule's aerodynamics off balance. The boss's coffin veered wildly off course and began to plunge earthward. The course deviation caused the capsule to miss its splashdown point by a wide margin. It didn't have enough time to decelerate before crashing into the sea. The force of the impact shattered the spacecraft before it started to sink like a stone. The boss used the last of her strength to escape to the surface. Her body was covered in bruises and scorched by radiation. It was a miracle she was still alive. She slipped into a coma and didn't regain consciousness for 6 months. To some, what was worst of all was that she had lost the space race to Gagarin by only a few minutes. That aside, it should have been a proud day for America. Its first manned spaceflight. Sadly, her accomplishment was kept out of the history books. An attempt to save face by Washington. In contrast to Gagarin's orbital flight, America had only managed a ballistic trajectory. Her flight time was much shorter, too. And most importantly, the Soviets had brought back both spacecraft and pilot safely. NASA couldn't even conjure up a half-hearted tale of heroic survival. The coup de grace, though, was the Soviet propaganda campaign that kicked into gear after the flight. The Earth was blue. Those were the words of Gagarin on his return, and the whole world was listening. In the blink of an eye, Gagarin was an international celebrity, earning accolades from every corner. It was a PR coup for the Soviet Union. Meanwhile, Washington could only grit its teeth in silence. They decided there was no value in making the boss's flight public, that it would only make matters worse. So they buried it instead, labeling it a dark mission. NASA and the CIA did everything in their power to erase all traces of the boss from Project Mercury. The result was the photo you see before you. Not a bad job, huh? Not only did they expunge her flight from the records, they denied that she ever existed. And that wasn't the end of it. As an alibi, the military claimed she'd taken part in the CIA's botched Bay of Pigs plot to take back Cuba. And when the boss was finally well enough to return to service, they wouldn't take her back. She was forced to go underground. In the public eye, the boss was still a hero of World War II. In reality, though, she was anything but that. She was a non-person, fit only for the blackest of black ops. In effect, she may as well have been dead. Gagarin went on a worldwide tour in front of millions of adoring fans. The boss, meanwhile, was a walking secret, unable to breathe a word about her experience. The authorities in Washington had this to say: "Why are you still here? If only you'd had the decency to give us a nice quote like Gagarin and then die an honorable death, you'd have gone down as a hero." 3 weeks later, on May 5th, Alan Shepard, one of the Mercury 7, made his own ballistic flight. They sure didn't try to cover up his achievement. Of course, he owed his success to the lessons learned from the boss's tragedy. Before sending Gagarin up into space, the Soviets had used a mannequin called Ivan Ivanovich to test the landing procedure, which would make the boss America's version of a crash test dummy. But she didn't care. "I'm happy to be the dummy," she said, "if it'll help the project succeed. Nothing would give me greater satisfaction." And that still wasn't the end of it. The boss had worked through the anti-Moscow faction of the Soviet Union's philosophers to place the sleeper agent, and at some point, the Soviets found out about it. Yet the Americans remained oblivious to the end. Even the philosopher network the boss plugged into never tipped them off to the double cross. That could only mean one of two things. Either the pro-Moscow philosophers had intervened, or the anti-Moscow philosophers had been turned. Either way, it was a situation their American counterparts couldn't stand. To preserve the philosopher's good name, and to repay her debt, so to speak, the boss once again made her way into the Soviet Union. There, she found herself face to face with the Soviets' own agent. And who should she find awaiting her return to Russia? The one who'd turned her sleeper against her, who'd fed them lies all this time. It was her former comrade in arms, the father of her child, the man known as the Sorrow. He didn't know it was the boss who'd sent the sleeper. Or to be more precise, the Soviet philosophers never told him. Former lovers, forced to fight to the death. One would live and one would die, she told me. That was the revenge the Soviet philosophers had in store for me. If both of them survived, their child would suffer in their place. They were left with no other option. The boss shot him. He offered no resistance. When she returned from the Soviet Union, there was no place left for her to go. She'd sacrificed everything. Everything. For her country. And in return, they treated her like a dead woman. She was made a scapegoat for no good reason. Only because power had changed hands in Washington. Any lesser being would have long since cracked. It was then that one of her old SAS comrades reached out to her, Major Zero, and so Fox was born. She undertook a mission that, well, you should know better than anybody. You were a part of it. 20 days after Shepard's flight, President Kennedy announced that America would put a man on the moon. Without the intelligence the boss obtained, America's space program would never have caught up. Armstrong and Aldrin might never have walked on the moon, but the Americans' gain had cost the boss her health, her honor, and the man she loved. The word tragedy doesn't even begin to describe what she endured. The Soviets continued their manned space flights, and in 1963, Valentina Tereshkova became the so-called first woman in space. It's said they took their cue from NASA's long-buried Mercury Lady project. And so that, Snake, is the mission that kept her away from you for so long. Now, I know what you're thinking. Why not use me as her agent? She knew I'd never even think of betraying her. I think it's because she didn't want to drag you into it. She probably knew what was going to happen. To complete the mission, she'd have to turn to the philosophers, and once she did that, whatever came of it, there'd be a price to pay. No one understood that better than her. So please, Snake, let it go. When she gave me the photo, she left me to decide whether or not to pass it along to you. I know she was torn about it, just as I was. She knew you'd probably blame yourself. Why did she hold on to it for so long? That, I can't say. To remind her of how much it hurt to be erased. She wasn't that kind of person. No. I think she meant it to be a message to you. She had her identity, her life, taken away. But she wanted you, of all people, to know the truth. Snake, you've probably already figured this out, but it's no accident that I'm only now sending you something I've withheld for so long. A little bird tells me you recently made a big decision. You and the boss are different people. I understand that. And I'm not trying to second guess you. I simply wanted you to know what she saw, how she felt. That's all. Keep it with you, Snake. Keep it deep inside. Don't ever forget the path she took. Because you and I are the only people on this earth who know the truth.
Boss, I'm sorry, but I can't.
It, happened again, Snake.
Oh, it's the doorknob. What's he got, an escape fetish?
He clearly has friends on the inside, but we've got no way of knowing who.
Persistent bastard, I'll give him that. Where is he this time?
That's the thing. He must have found and gotten rid of the transmitter. We've got no idea where he is. Snake, think you can find him?
We can't just let him run around. Makes us look bad.
I'll say. Since we can't locate him, I'm afraid I can't add a new mission. You know what to do, Snake. Welcome to the shooting range. Just the place for a little target practice, huh? When you're done, head over to the exit.
Big boss! My work is done.
What are you talking about?
V for victory! Rocket, peace!
I found Zadornov. I had to kill him.
Huh. So much for our fugitive.
Something's not right here. I'm thinking he had a friend.
Someone inside MSF. Huh?
What's going on?
It's Zeke. It's moving.
What?
There's somebody inside. I can see them. Snake, get up here. Pronto!
Get down from there before you hurt somebody.
Maybe I want to hurt somebody.
What's going on? She's not herself.
Oh, I am myself, all right. My true self.
Kaz, shut that thing down.
I can't! The controls aren't responding!
Then how's it moving?
I made some modifications. This machine was meant to have a human pilot.
Modifications? Paz, what are you...
Never thought I'd be into machines, huh?
Then Zadornov's escape was a diversion.
Paz, what are you doing?
I'm taking it back.
Taking it back? Where?
To our leaders. To Cypher.
Cypher?
This weapon is Cypher's creation.
Paz, get down from there!
Do not call me that. I am Pacifica Ocean. My name, my age, my mission. Cypher gave them all to me. My entire life has but one purpose. To carry out Cypher's plan. The nasty tobacco. The angel of peace crap. The whole teen with a dream routine. I am through with all of it.
Paz, you can't.
I told you not to call me that. It makes me want to puke. Everything is going exactly as planned. Now the real Peace Walker project is finally about to reach its goal.
The real project?
Once upon a time, there were two young men who idolized a hero called the Boss. One day, they suddenly lost the point of origin. This cipher, that was like a mother to them. Unable to come to terms with their sorrow, they each decided to carry on the will of their hero. But they could not agree on what that meant. In the end, they became bitter enemies, and the zero from which they both started was split into two. And you have been on the wrong path ever since. There is no happily ever after waiting for you in the end, unless you obey the will of Cypher. Where does an army without borders call home? A state without borders, of course. A world without borders.
A world without borders.
The Cold War order is about to collapse. The age of electronic intelligence is about to begin. The NSA, CSS, NRO, DIA, etc., etc. The intelligence community that has long bickered amongst itself will be united in a world governed by electrons. Cypher will gather all information, watching over the world and guiding the will of its people, all while they remain blissfully unaware. There will be no one to oppose them. For the first time, the world will be ruled by a single will. Until the new order is in place, you and your army will be the force that protects it. You will be Cypher's deterrent, pulling the wool over the eyes of the old order with your charisma and military prowess. Accept our offer, and we will allow you to retain control of MSF and Zeke.
That's an offer.
The boss threw down her gun, and with it, her life's calling. You, her disciple, have never been able to do that. You are too afraid to let go.
I was made to fight. I am a gun.
Is that so? Then what do you call this? Is it a gun too? You are a lousy liar. Admit it. This thing is a monstrosity, a product of your own fear. But not Cypher. Cypher thought of something different. Cypher's going to control guns.
Control guns?
That is right. Not deter, control. It is the ultimate approach to the illusion of peace.
Control power. You're gonna be disappointed.
Then we are done. Thank you for playing. Better luck next time. The offer is rescinded. And now the ultimatum. Zeke is already in nuclear strike mode.
What?
I'm taking the weapon you built and using it to launch a nuclear strike on the east coast of the United States.
You're insane. What are you after?
But wait, here is your consolation prize. We are about to show the world just how dangerous a gang of outlaws, an army without borders, can be. You and your men will become pariahs, and you will be wiped off the face of the earth. Rather than heroes, you will be seen as a well-armed extremist cult prone to indiscriminate outbursts of nuclear aggression. You will give rise to a new world order, an age of deterrence defined by its fear of extremist cult influence. Do you like the picture I am painting, Big Boss? When all is said and done, peace is nothing but a fantasy. A game is a game. You either win or you lose. All you can do is fight. Stop me if you can. The peace sign is the V of victory. Say, peace.
She's gonna launch a nuke. Snake, we've got to stop her. Whatever it takes. Awaiting your orders.
Stop me if you can.
We've activated the hatches up on deck. You can use them as cover so long attack button to tag him.
You look like this too!
Strike request acknowledged. We'll need you to tag the target from Mother Base's gun platforms to you. The control panel is on the edge of the deck. First, make sure you're safe by pressing up against the wall. Then use the L1 button to locate the enemy's position and press the attack button to tag him. Strike request acknowledged. Need you to tag the target directly. First, make sure you're safe by pressing up against the wall. Target confirmed. Commence attack. Transport catapult ready to launch. The rocket launcher's reloaded. Let him have it. Rocket launcher ready to fire. It's out of ammo. Wait for it to reload. They've okayed your request. That cannon's taken a beating. It's useless now. Supplies are loaded in the transport catapult. Fire away. Transport catapult ready to launch. distracted by the gun platform. Now's your chance to attack. Launcher's reloaded. Let him have it. Time to wrap things up. It's out of ammo. Wait for it to reload. Soon you will witness true hell. Soon you will witness true hell. Rocket launcher ready to fire. Got no one to blame but yourself. Supplies are loaded in the transport catapult. Fire away. Got no one to blame but yourself. Time to wrap things up. We do not need peace. Transport catapult ready to launch. We do not need peace. We do not need Take this! Time to wrap things up. I'll crush your legs. Rocket launcher ready to fire. Target acknowledged. Launched away. Supplies are loaded in the transport catapult. Fire away. Transport catapult ready to launch. The rocket launcher's reloaded. Let him have it. Rocket launcher ready to fire. Soon you will witness true It's not over yet. Don't do that.
It is no use. Zeke is out of my control. This is where it ends. Listen to me, Big Boss. long as your army is needed, the world will never know true peace.
The peace you will know will be fleeting, elusive. They will use you, disgrace you, and then finally discard you like they would a cancer to society. This is the path you have chosen.
Paz.
Who would have thought that little girl was working against us?
Tell me about it. She had everybody fooled, me included. I can't believe I didn't pick up on anything.
Snake, there's no point in beating yourself up over the past. But hey, maybe you should put in some practice against Zeke in case this sort of thing ever happens again. In any case, I need to go talk to Dr. Strangelove. Zeke still isn't ready.
Huey!
How's it going? How's Zeke look?
The attitude control AI had a backup, so it should be able to walk.
Really? Oh, that's good.
Beyond that, it's up to the creator. Stop! Don't come any closer, Doctor.
There's something I've been meaning to ask you. Do you despise me?
Doctor, are you asking me out?
No, not at all.
No? Pity. Because I've just had my heart broken by someone else.
What?
I only like those who can stand on their own. If you fancy me, then come walk with me. Who knows what miracles might happen. Love is blind after all. Take your time. I'll be waiting.
Snake!
That name Paz mentioned at the end, Cipher. It's a code. It means empty. It also means...
Zero.
A world of electronic intelligence, built on codes. And at the center of it all, a zero.
Cuz.
Look, boss. I owe you an apology. Hear me out, okay?
Sure.
I knew Paz and the professor. I knew who they really were all along.
Cuz.
I used them.
I suppose you were the one that brought them to Columbia in the first place, huh?
Guilty as charged. Paz wasn't just CIA, you know. She was working for the KGB, too. And for this Cypher group. In other words, she was a triple agent.
You knew all of this?
Wait, let me finish. Listen. MSF never would have gotten this big if it weren't for them. This mercenary business we built. Someday it's gonna be a new driving force in the world economy.
Is that your goal all along?
The Cold War's not gonna last forever. Sooner or later, it's gonna give way to an era of regional conflicts and terrorism. A paradigm shift from counter-communism to counter-terrorism. In the new age, armies won't be tied to states, and war will become a business. We'll be a valuable commodity. There'll be clients all over the world who need our services. MSF is only the beginning. What we're creating here is a revolution in itself. Am I right?
Cuz, it's not going to be that easy.
What do you mean?
This whole Peace Walker thing has left our mark on the history of the Old Order. We've put ourselves on the radar of intelligence agencies and governments east and west. The whole world probably knows about us now.
Including that Cypher outfit.
We've let ourselves interfere with the times, with the Cold War system of deterrence. We're an army without a flag. We weren't supposed to take sides in international affairs, but we did.
I see your point. So what happens to us now?
We'll be hunted.
Not everybody's gonna be happy with us, huh?
You're damn right. We upset the global military balance of power.
And these people would rather our army without borders not exist at all?
They're gonna come knocking real soon. There's no turning back now. We're a wrench in the old system of deterrence. As long as the times refuse to change, we're gonna make a hell of a racket.
Then who are we gonna fight?
The establishment. Anybody who tries to restore the old balance wants to snuff us out of existence.
Which establishment?
It won't be a particular country or ideology that hunts us.
Who then?
We're gonna be fighting the biggest beast of all. The Times. 10 years ago, the Times rejected the boss and killed her. And now, we're the ones being tested. Will the Times erase us? Or work with us? It's gonna be a lonely battle. No good or evil. No winners or losers. Business will have to wait. The question we have to ask ourselves now is, can we survive long enough to see the 21st century?
I'm with you, boss. We'll see how it turns out, together.
The hunt is on, Kaz. And the whole world's on our tail. Assemble the men.
this world so cold? I just wonder why. Cold as a dog, now my words are frosted with every breath. Still the hate burns wild, growing inside this heart. When the wind changes course, when the stars align, I will reach out to you and leave this all behind. When heavens divide. When heavens divide, I will see the choices within my hands. How can we ever protect and fight with our tiny souls? Let me shine like the sun through the doubts and fear. Do you feel the storm approach as the end draws near? When heavens divide, time will come to softly lay me down. Then I can see a face that I long to see. And for you, only you, I would give anything, leaving a trace for love to find the way. When heavens divide. I will dive into the fire, spilling the blood of my desire. The very last time, my name scorched into the sky. When heavens divide, I will see the choices within my hands. How can we ever protect and fight with our tiny
We will forsake our countries. We will leave our motherlands behind us and become one with this earth. We have no nation, no philosophy, no ideology. We go where we're needed, fighting not for country, not for government, but for ourselves. We need no reason to fight. We fight because we are needed. We will be the deterrent for those with no other recourse. We are soldiers without borders, our purpose defined by the era we live in. We will sometimes have to sell ourselves and services. If the times demand it, we'll be revolutionaries, criminals, terrorists. And yes, we may all be headed straight to hell. But what better place for us than this? It is our only home, our heaven and our hell. This is utter heaven.
Remember that habit Paz had, Snake? How she always had her index finger on her upper lip like this?
Yeah. It bugged me ever since we first met her. Never figured her for a snuff user.
I can't believe we never noticed.
She used the kind where you keep a pouch of leaf in your upper jaw, let it absorb through your gums. She might not have been used to it. Probably used her finger to keep it in place.
How could Paz... We were gonna start a band together.
She was posing as a KGB agent, too.
She must have put on the act to get close to Galvez. Wonder how much Coleman knew. But the whole time she was working for some organization called Cypher.
Huh. Cypher? Ring any bells, Kaz?
Cypher. It means code, or zero in Arabic numerals.
Zero.
Does that mean something to you?
Not sure.
You know, cypher and zero were basically the same word. It's a linguistic redundancy. The word stems from the Sanskrit shunya. It corresponds to the Buddhist concept of emptiness. In Buddhism, shunya means hollow. It supposedly refers to something that's swollen and empty on the inside.
A big swollen emptiness. Just like outer space. Chico, I heard you saw Paz trying to sabotage Zeke before she activated.
I should have stopped her. If only I hadn't run away. I could have captured her before she got inside. If I'd done that, she'd still be here.
She was carrying a gun. Probably trained to use it too. Don't blame yourself. You couldn't have stopped her anyway. You were unarmed.
I could have at least talked to her. If I'd promised not to tell anyone, Paz wouldn't have gone and done what she did. It's just I was so shocked. I panicked. Ran away.
Chico, when you saw Paz, she was trying to sabotage it, right?
Huh? Well, yeah.
And right after that, she took control of it, tried to make me surrender. Something doesn't add up. Why would she sabotage Zeke when she was about to use it against me?
What?
Her actions were inconsistent. Even for a spy. If she wanted to destroy Zeke, she could have done it and run away. But if her goal was to steal Zeke, she'd have no motive to sabotage it.
I don't know.
Maybe your seeing her caused her to change her plan. I don't get it.